Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Book Flix, your go-to destination for timeless stories, literary gems, and deep dives into the world of books. Tonight, we're stepping into one of the most beloved novels in English literature, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Whether you've read it countless times, or this is your first visit to the elegant drawing rooms of Longbourn and the mysterious halls of Pemberley, this story never fails to captivate. First published in 1813, Pride and Prejudice is a sparkling social commentary wrapped in a witty and romantic tale. It follows the life of Elizabeth Bennet, one of 5 sisters navigating love, marriage, and societal expectations in 19th century England. But this isn't just a love story, it's a sharp, often humorous critique of the social norms and class divisions of the time. And at the heart of it all is the evolving relationship between the spirited Elizabeth and the proud, mysterious Mr. Darcy, a relationship that has set the standard for romantic tension in literature for over 2 centuries. What makes Pride and Prejudice so enduring? It's the charm of Austen's writing, her keen eye for human behavior, and the way she brings her characters to life with such clarity and wit. From the pompous Mr. Collins to the flirtatious Lydia, every character feels vivid and real, and of course, who can forget the iconic first line, "It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife." It's clever, ironic, and sets the tone for everything that follows. On this episode of Book Flix, we'll be exploring the key themes of the novel from Pride and Prejudice themselves to gender roles, marriage, and social mobility. We'll take a look at the development of Elizabeth and Darcy's characters, the challenges they face, and how Austen uses their journey to reflect on deeper societal issues. We'll also highlight some of the most memorable scenes and quotes that have stood the test of time. So, whether you're a hopeless romantic, a fan of classic literature, or just curious about why Pride and Prejudice continues to resonate today, stay tuned. And don't forget, if you enjoy this content, please like, share, and subscribe to Book Flix for more literary explorations. Grab a cup of tea, get cozy, and let's dive into the world of manners, misunderstandings, and meaningful glances. This is Pride and Prejudice, and it's more than just a love story. It's a mirror held up to society, wrapped in wit, wisdom, and undeniable charm. Let's begin. The story begins in the rural English village of Longbourn with one of the most iconic opening lines in literature. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife. This sentence immediately sets the tone for the novel's exploration of marriage, social class, and human folly. Mrs. Bennet, the excitable and talkative mother of 5 unmarried daughters, is thrilled to hear that a wealthy gentleman named Mr. Charles Bingley has taken up residence at nearby Netherfield Park. Convinced that he will marry one of her daughters, she pushes her husband, Mr. Bennet, to call on Mr. Bingley and secure the family's introduction. Mr. Ben, it is a witty, sarcastic man with a quiet disposition, and he takes pleasure in teasing his wife and observing the foolishness around him. Though he initially seems indifferent, he surprises his family by visiting Mr. Bingley in secret, thus ensuring that the Bennet family will be able to attend social functions with him. His daughters, Jane, Elizabeth, Mary, Catherine, Kitty, and Lydia, are all excited about the prospect of meeting Bingley, especially since prospects for advantageous marriages are limited in their social class. At the Meryton Assembly, the local ball, Mr. Bingley makes a favorable impression. He is cheerful, friendly, and dances several times with Jane Bennet, the eldest and most beautiful daughter, sparking the interest of many in the room. His good humor wins over nearly everyone. He is accompanied by his friend Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy, who immediately strikes a contrast with Bingley. Though Darcy is more handsome and wealthier, he is cold and aloof, refusing to dance with anyone he does not know. When Bingley urges him to dance with Elizabeth, Darcy remarks that she is tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. Elizabeth overhears the insult and is both hurt and amused, resolving to form a poor opinion of Mr. Darcy from that moment on. As days go by, Jane becomes increasingly fond of Bingley. He continues to show her attention, and it is clear that he prefers her company. Elizabeth, who is perceptive and intelligent, observes their developing affection. Meanwhile, Darcy's pride continues to alienate the people around him, although his character begins to show subtle signs of complexity. He seems to observe Elizabeth closely, perhaps intrigued by her wit and liveliness. Soon after the assembly, Mr. Bennet receives a letter from Mr. Collins, a pompous and insufferably formal clergyman, who is also the Bennet family's cousin. As the entailed heir to Longbourn, since the estate cannot be inherited by women, Mr. Collins proposes to visit with the intention of choosing one of the Bennet daughters as a wife. His intention is partly to make amends for eventually displacing them and partly to fulfill his obligation to Lady Catherine de Bourgh, his wealthy and commanding patroness, who has advised him to marry. Mr. Collins arrives at Longbourn and immediately makes himself ridiculous through his long-winded speeches, constant flattery of Lady Catherine, and general lack of self-awareness. He first sets his sights on Jane, but is redirected by Mrs. Bennet, who tells him she is likely to be engaged soon. Mr. Collins then turns his attention to Elizabeth, who is less than enthusiastic about the attention. In the nearby town of Meryton, the younger Bennet sisters encounter a militia regiment stationed there. Among the officers is the charming and handsome Mr. George Wickham, who quickly attracts Elizabeth's attention. He is easygoing, friendly, and entirely different in demeanor from Darcy. In a private conversation with Elizabeth, Wickham reveals that he has a painful history with Darcy. He claims that Darcy wronged him by denying him the inheritance promised by Darcy's late father. Elizabeth, already predisposed to dislike Darcy, readily believes Wickham's account and sympathizes with him. This conversation deepens her prejudice against Darcy and solidifies her positive opinion of Wickham. Not long afterward, Jane receives an invitation to Netherfield from Caroline Bingley, Mr. Bingley's sister. Mrs. Bennet, always scheming to further her daughter's romantic prospects, insists that Jane ride there on horseback instead of taking a carriage, so that she might be caught in the rain and forced to stay overnight. Her plan works. Jane falls ill from the exposure and is confined to bed at Netherfield. Concerned for her sister, Elizabeth walks several miles to visit her and arrives with muddy skirts and a disheveled appearance. Her arrival causes quite a stir. Caroline Bingley and Mrs. Hurst, Mr. Bingley's sisters, are appalled by Elizabeth's lack of refinement, but Darcy is intrigued by her confidence and independence. He begins to pay her more attention, although he does not openly express his interest. While Jane remains at Netherfield, Elizabeth spends several days there as well, caring for her sister. She endures the company of the snobbish Miss Bingley, who clearly envies Elizabeth and tries to belittle her at every opportunity. Meanwhile, Darcy begins to engage more with Elizabeth, occasionally joining her in conversation or observing her as she reads. Their conversations are sharp and full of subtle tension. Darcy admires Elizabeth's intelligence and self-possession, but he struggles against the limitations of his own pride and social prejudice. Elizabeth remains firm in her dislike for him, still influenced by Wickham's story and Darcy's initial rudeness. By the end of Chapter 10, the dynamics between the characters have become increasingly complex. Jane and Bingley's relationship continues to blossom, though subtle obstacles begin to arise in the form of Caroline Bingley's interference. Elizabeth finds herself at the center of a complicated triangle, admired by Mr. Collins, courted by Wickham, and increasingly observed by Darcy. The seeds of misunderstanding, social tension, and romantic entanglement are sown, and Jane Austen sets the stage for the emotional and moral growth that will define the rest of the novel.